Well, day 5 of the 5-day challenge, and today is the day when you go live. Yes, you've built your website, you've created all your layouts, you've added all your content, and now you are ready to go live. Well, in this episode, all we're going to do is have a look at 3 different domain name registrars. That's where you go to buy your domain name, and we're going to point them at your website that is technically going live. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And like I say, we'll look at 3 different registrars. We're going to look at Google, we're going to look at Hover, which you might know as COUSRE, and we're also going to look at GoDaddy. And between that, you should be pretty confident to make sure that you go live. And I'm going to do that immediately after this introduction. We'll go straight into it. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but you can prepare for that now so that when you are ready to flip that switch, you know exactly what to do. And then in the next episode, what we're going to do is have a look at a QA process. That's quality assurance process. I'm going to show you a checklist of things that you need to make sure that you've done before that you go live. And that is it for today. And then tonight in the Sunset Talks, I'm going to be going through growth. I'm going to be going through Moble's 5-step solution to make sure that you get sales and conversions through your website. As you know, our business name is MOBLE, which is M-O-B-L-E, and that stands for M, motivate, which is about using your forms to collect email addresses and mobiles. We want to increase your database size. And then it's O, onboard. That's getting a small sale, a low friction sale. We want to get your credit card. So we've got M, get an email address or mobile. O, on board, get a credit card. And then we've got B, which is build. We want to build to your core sale. So that's when we nurture that customer, make sure that they're not shopping around, they're only using you, and then you can put in your proposal and make sure you get that sale. And then we've got L, which is loyalty. It's about getting customers back and make sure they stay with you. And then E, what we call expose. We look at your key customers, your brand evangelists, and we make sure that they share your company and your website with all their friends and their colleagues. So we're going to be looking at that tonight in Sunset Talks, and it's the Sunset Talks not to be missed to make sure your website is a high converting machine. Okay, that's the introduction. Let's go and look at how you set up your domain. Well, here I am in the global settings area, which you can access via the main menu. Scroll all the way down, showing all the work that we've done, to go to the global settings, and you will be greeted with straight away with some instructions on how to go live. And there's 3 things that we need to set up to go live. There's your A record, which is step 1. Step 2 is your CNAME, and step 3 is your TXT, which you'll do all of these in your domain name registrar, where you bought your domain name. Okay, so I'll just show you what else we've got on this screen. We've got some key site details information, which I'm going to go through with you shortly. But then we've got our integrations. Now, Moble's got lots of integrations with different platforms, such as your Google Analytics and many other platforms. Well, this is where you go to set up most of those integrations as well. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because as we release new integrations, I'm going to be posting those on YouTube. So that'll be the first place you get notified for those. Okay, so what we'll do here is go over to your Google, and then we're going to go over to Hover, and then we're going to go over to GoDaddy just to set up these domain names. Well, the key thing is, when you are ready to go live, you want to put your primary domain name in here. So if you've just bought a domain name called belio.com.au, you want to put belio.com.au in your primary domain there. Your customer notification, you should know this by now, but that's the default email for all of your forms. Obviously, in your form, you can go and set this up uniquely, but your customer is the email that your customer will see when they've submitted a form and they get a response back from that form. This is what they see. Now, the admin notification is who gets that email in your team. But obviously, you can set this for each form, and you can set for each form many different email addresses just by putting a comma and no space and putting out the email address. Go and watch the forms episode back in day 2 for a bit more information on that. Okay, now you can see here, this is the information. So we're going to set up our domain name first of all on Google, and once we've done that, then we'll request an SSL certificate. So with your mobile website, all mobile websites have a free SSL certificate. Once you've gone live with your domain name, you just need to come in here, punch this button, and then our team will be notified to go and set you up with your free SSL certificate. What's an SSL certificate? Well, you'll know this mostly is that security certificate. So it used to be, didn't it, HTTP, but these days we use HTTPS, :// and then your domain name. So that means your site will be secure and you won't get a not secure flag on search engines like Google Chrome. Essential stuff. Don't forget to press the SSL certificate button to get your free SSL certificate. Right, so first of all, we're going to set up our A record on Google. So I'm going to copy this A record. This is the place where your website lives on mobile. So your website lives on mobile servers, and this is the IP address of where it lives. So we copy this IP address, and now we go over to Google, and here's our domain name. So I'm going to click on our domain name, and I want to go over to the DNS, domain name server. This is where we serve your domain name. And you can see here straight away, it says, what's your host name? And your host name is going to be Sunset Talk. So we can leave this blank, or if you're unsure, you can type an @ symbol. And that's always going to be the case across these registrars. So by default, you can leave it blank for your A record. So I'll just show this now. I'm going to select the type A record. Notice we're going to set up a CNAME and a TXT as step 2 and step 3. But for now, I'm just going to set up this. Now, you can make this a bit shorter than 1 hour. This is the number of seconds, but you can make that 10 minutes if you're in a bit of a rush. And then you now need to paste in that IP address. And that's it for step 1. So now we can go on to step 2 and create a new record. So what we'll do here is create a new record. And this time we're going to create a CNAME, aren't we? So let's just jump back and remind ourselves. In here, we're going to create a CNAME for the subdomain www and set it to x.mobile. Well, what's going on here? Well, for your A record, this is without the W's. So this is when someone goes to the address bar and in my case types in without the W's belio.com.au. Okay. Now, what if they do want to type in www.belio.com.au? Well, in this case, we're setting up a CNAME for that. So I now need to go and set that CNAME. It's going to be set to the mobile servers x.mobile.com. So I'm going to copy x.mobile.com and I'm going to make our host www. Sounds complicated, but it's really straightforward. So let's go and do this now. We're going to set up a CNAME and we're going to call it www. Notice we don't need the dot, okay? And you know, we can make this a bit quicker, 600, and then we'll type in x.mobile.com. Great, that's step 2 done. And now we're going to create a new record for step 3, which is going to be a TXT. So here we go. So what's going to go on here? Well, let's go back to the instructions and have a look. Create a TXT record. Must include spf.mobile.com in your sender ID. So what is going on here? Well, a TXT is to whitelist your emails when someone completes a form. So someone completes a form on your website, hits the submit button, and 2 things happen generally. You get an email and the customer gets an email. Well, we don't want those to go into spam filters, so we whitelist that email, and that's what is happening here on the TXT. So all you're going to do is copy this, including the quote marks. So that's often a commonly asked question when people read the text help. They think that the quote marks is not required. We're just saying, you know, spf.mobile. But no, you include the quote marks. Now that's just example 1 when it's a new TXT record, that a TXT record doesn't exist. But sometimes you'll go to your domain name, when you might be an existing company, you maybe have emails already set up, and you'll already have a TXT file, your TXT record set. Well, it'll say something like, let's imagine, outlook.com, okay? But in this case, we're not going to create a new record. We're just going to include this bit. So see how I'm copying the spaces there. So I'm going to make sure there's a space between Outlook, and then we're going to include spf.mobile.com and then a space at the end. So that's all you're doing. It's no more complicated than that. You can't really break too much if you're following these instructions. So I'm just going to, it's a new record. So in this case, I'm going to copy with the quote marks in here, look. And to the end, I'm just going to copy all of this like so. Okay, and just press copy and then go over to our TXT. I can leave this blank, can't I? Or if I'm unsure on different registrars, I could type @ but in this case, I'm just going to paste odds in there, and we're looking pretty good. So in this case, I can now press save. We've got our A record, CNAME, and TXT. Press save. And there we've got our domain. So all I need to do now is go back, request the SSL certificate from mobile, but make sure you've got that primary domain. A lot of people just leave in the site name in here. You've set it all up correctly. You can't understand why your website's not live. It's pretty much because you haven't put your primary domain name in. When you're done, press save, and that is it. Hover's a pretty nice, 2 cows. I remember 2 cows when I first started in this industry back in the turn of the century. So they've been going longer than Google, believe it or not. But they've rebranded. I don't know when that was, maybe like 2014, 2015, to add a whole bunch of new services. And Hover was then the kind of rebranded, if that's the right word, domain name company. But you can see here I've got sunsettalks.org, DNS. It's exactly the same situation. I'm just going to add a record, in which case a record, and put in the IP address. It's the same again. I can leave this blank, put in the IP address. Okay. Then I go onto my CNAME again, www.targetx.mobile.com, and then add that record. And then finally, I'll go and do a TXT. Again, leave it blank, put in our quote marks, and then press add record, and that's done as well. It's as easy as that, making sure that we've got our primary set up to be the same. In this case, it wouldn't be belio.com.au, would it? No, it would not. It would be sunsettalks.org. Okay, cool. And then request the SSL certificate and then press save. Go to GoDaddy, and then what I want to do is just scroll down to find the DNS, and you can see here it says manage DNS. So we'll click manage DNS, and then we'll go into a familiar looking situation here. So we've got DNS records, and then let's click add. Okay, let's go and work out what to do here. Well, what are we doing? We're doing an A record, and then we'll copy our A record, and we'll just go through the same format again. It says @ or www this time, so we'll type in @ because it's our primary, right? So key difference. That's what you're looking out for on these registrars. Sometimes it's going to leave it blank, or sometimes it's asking for that specifically. If it's an A record, we're going to do the @ symbol. So we'll punch in our IP address here, and then we'll just set it to half an hour, and we'll add the record, and then we'll do the same again. Let's go and have a look at the host name in this case. So I'm just going to copy our x.mobile.com. We're going to set up the www, and then let's go and add this new record in here now. So we're going to add a CNAME, and we're going to make this www. We're going to add in x.mobile.com, and again we'll use half an hour, and we'll add. Okay, great, and let's just check that it's in our list. Well, you can see here's our CNAME, and here's our A record. Now, often you'll see that there are duplicates here. So there's another A record here, which just was in the crazy domains, and there's another C record here. I would just leave those all together and just add the A records that we're adding and the CNAME. If you're ever unsure, you can contact their help. Domain name registrars are all quite different, and they've all had many mergers and acquisitions, so there's a lot of things going on often when you see certain name servers and whatever. This one here says, look, you can't delete it. They need it for something, right? So if ever in doubt, just leave it. And if it is causing you some issues, then you can just contact their support and they will help you with that. Sometimes when you buy a domain name, you can't even see the DNS. So you have to contact their support and get them to put the DNS in there for you. I've seen that a lot with certain registrars. So keep that in mind. But all we're doing is keeping it simple. We're adding only an A record and we're adding only a CNAME record. We're not deleting anything. So finally, we just need to add the TXT. So let's go and do that. Well, we don't need a new CNAME record, so I'm going to close this one down. We do want to add a TXT. Let's go down, select our TXT. If we're unsure, we just go back, grab this with the quote marks, copy, back over, and what we're going to do now is, it says here at or email. Well, I'm just going to type in at, in this case. I'm going to put in our record here and then half an hour, and then what I'm going to do is press save. So it's simple as that. So we've covered those nuances. So that should make sense now to you. When you're ready now, go and set up your domain name. If you're an older company and you've had many websites before, you might just check with your IT department when you're ready, because they'll have a few things going on, no doubt, with their history of what they've been using your domain name for. The golden rule is don't ever change your MX records. Your MX records are for your email. If you change your MX records, your emails are going to go down. If you change your A records, it's just going to flip from one website to another, right? MX records don't change at all. That's top advice there, because that's what I do see some people go and change. You might be looking at old instructions and this, that, and the other from previous providers or anything like that. Just don't touch your MX records. We're only doing the A record, the CNAME for www, and the TXT to white label those emails coming off the forms.